New York Jets are hiring Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn to be their next head coach. This is sort of homecoming for Glenn, who was drafted 12th overall by the team back in 1994 before becoming a coach for the Cleveland Browns as a defensive back assistant, then a defensive back coach for the New Orleans Saints before becoming the defensive coordinator for the Lions in 2021. And now he's worked his way up to being the head coach of the Jets. So I think this is not terribly surprising, just given the fact that Glenn was a name that was really out there for a lot of potential head coaching jobs with the Lions losing this past week. Ben Johnson, of course, their offensive coordinator, took the job in Chicago. So he was off the table. And yesterday, before it was officially announced, there were a lot of rumors that Glenn was very, very interested in becoming the next head coach of the Jets, and even more rumors about him potentially keeping Aaron Rodgers. I think this is probably going to be a good move for the Jets. Not as flashy as perhaps Ben Johnson was, but the team's not necessarily in a win now mode, but you do have to figure out a lot given the fact that they kind of went all in with Aaron Rodgers the last few years, and then that didn't really work out as well as they wanted it to. But I will say Aaron Rodgers didn't play as bad as the record necessarily indicated. And I think if you want to come in and kind of get everything established, having a veteran quarterback could be a good move. Granted, Aaron Rodgers is a very, let's say, volatile personality, just because you never know exactly what you're going to get with Rodgers year to year, week to week, even. I mean, filming a Netflix special instead of, you know, being at training camp is a bad example of one. And then putting your head coach in a position like he did last year where, you know, he can't exactly say that his starting quarterback is filming a Netflix special documentary, whatever, instead of being at training camp. But if Glenn thinks that this will be the best option, then, you know, probably went into his hiring, right? Where the Jets really want to make this Aaron Rodgers move pay off. So they need to have a head coach who will potentially allow that to pay off. So, I think it'll be very interesting to see how he does. The Lions defense this last year, I think the best way to describe them would be resilient. They lost a lot of players over the years, and they lost their best player in Aiden Hutchinson on defense. And they were still like a serviceable unit, but I will say the playoffs were not particularly kind to them. Washington putting up 45 points, and granted, let's say at least 14 of those points came because of bad turnovers by Jared Goff, who was possibly concussed after that. But, it's a very interesting choice to hire Glenn. I do hope it works out for him, as much of a Jets hater as I am. You know, I almost feel bad for the Jets and how things have really been pretty negative the last couple of years for them. Don't feel, you know, too bad, of course. But yeah, if you're a Jets fan, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this one. Are you excited for Aaron Glenn? Would you have preferred a more offensive minded coach? Do you just want to clean house entirely? What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers potentially coming back into the fold? Very interesting team. Lots of interesting narratives going on there. And I would love to hear your thoughts about that in the comments.